Well, good afternoon, and you're all very welcome. Thank you for being here today for this service of farewell for Brian. We're going to start our service here this afternoon with a lovely song by Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill. want to welcome everyone who's joining us via the webcam here this afternoon. I think some people are joining us from Australia. I know it's probably night time over there where you are now, but thank you for everyone who's come here today in whatever way you're here, through the Skype or just physically out of the hallway or here in the room. I know that the family really appreciate your support here this afternoon. I know none of us want to be here. We don't want to say goodbye to Brian for the last time. We are all numbed, we're angry that this has happened to this caring man with such a big heart who was loved by you all. So while it is a very sad day, it is also a day to feel closer and to recall our happy memories, to laugh, to shed a tear. And today's service will celebrate Brian's journey through life and will show gratitude for what he has meant to you as a husband, a father, a brother, a son, son-in-law, uncle, cousin, a dear friend and neighbour. Brian will be remembered for his sense of humour, his outgoing nature, his positivity, his self-belief. He spent his formative years in Glasnevin and he is still very fondly remembered over there from his connection to Bacchus Football Club, which was a huge part of his life. While Brian played with the club until his early 30s, he loved the social aspect and meeting his friends over there. He was also a Leeds fan and a Glasgow Rangers supporter purely because of his love of football, but also caused many a good debate with his beloved mother Rose. In his youth, he was also a very good cross-country runner. And just before we closed our casket here this afternoon, Kathy came across a lovely Leeds United scarf that she has placed on with Brian for his final journey. He worked in sales all his life with Premier and then with Glanbia. He covered the Dublin area as his area, his charm, his wit endearing him to many. At home, Brian, along with Kathy, loved tending to their garden. He was particularly good at growing roses and took great delight in the roses he took from the family home. He was a man who had a social conscience. He always championed the underdog, believed in a fair society for all. While Brian never visited the USA, he was a patron of the natural American Sioux tribe, supporting their fight for their rightful heritage. And that got a giggle there, I think, right enough. I mentioned the phone the other night. I had to say that the American Sioux also make a nice pastry as well, I think, I'm part of all that. But anyway, there we go. But I think Brian definitely has left an enduring legacy of love, of loyalty, of courage. His sense of humour, his banter will never be forgotten. Last year was February of 19. Brian's life was turned upside down, as was indeed you, his family, with his cancer diagnosis. And Brian did fight with every fibre of his being to get better, to regain some semblance of a normal life again. But unfortunately, his health began to gradually deteriorate since earlier this year. He gently yielded to this world just last Saturday. His passing will leave a huge void in all of your lives. And today we are just gently reminded of how fragile life really is. Life is a privilege. Tomorrow is never promised to anyone, so live every day as a blessing, an opportunity, and leave nothing behind. And well, I'll just give you a little brief snapshot just of the man that Brian was. And I'm going to call on his brother Stan, who obviously knows him intimately all his life and will give us his story now. Thank you, Stan.
Thanks, Pyke. Yeah, Brian was husband to Kathy, father to Sarah. I don't know if there's the word dad to Rufus, but certainly a companion. And he was a brother to me, to Aidan, and to Deirdre. But a friend and companion to many, as Pyke has already said. And unusual things like Brian didn't want CDs. If you gave him a CD, he'd try and go in exchange for vinyl records. He acquired a vinyl player a number of years ago. I'm sure had to search quite long and deep, but if he found the American Sioux, he was able to find a vinyl record player. Yeah, he loved Leeds, he loved politics, he loved history. Sometimes it was always his version of all of those. And whether it was a debate or an argument, he was formidable at any of the above, and indeed all of the above. Sometimes he didn't know which of them he was maybe talking about, but he knew the direction he was going with it. Bacchus, I never got to play with them or even see them play, But by all accounts, they were the most sporting football team ever because they used to applaud the opposition when the opposition scored a goal. They were hauled up in front of the league for their sportsmanship. And never wanting to face a win or a defeat in advance of a match, they'd celebrate before the match. Again, unique to their collective sportsmanship. But before all of these, Brian was an athlete, a cross-country runner, All-Ireland champion. And in fact, the song Running Up the Hill is a very fitting song because years ago, we'd be doing our road running training, we'd be pounding up Griffith Avenue, pounding up Collins Avenue, but Brian was always just gliding along. He never seemed to run with any effort, it was just a glide. And at some stage along the way, he'd just glance at you and say, I'm out of here. And then he'd kick on and he was gone. And you know, that's just the way he left us last Saturday. He kicked on and he was gone, but not forgotten.
Thank you, Stan. And of course, we all know that Brian had a great love of music. It's big decisions trying to work out the playlist for the service today and indeed for Class 7 later on. But we're going to play our next song now. Lovely song by David. It's a long time to hear that song now, Aladdin Sane, my God. It's weird and wonderful, isn't it? Huh? It's a long song, yeah. The piano little piece reminds me of Les Dawson years ago playing it all wrong, the kind of way it's all. That's where it kind of gets me off. I don't hear it, but there we go. But thank you for that. Okay, so Sarah, you're going to say a few words about your dad, are you? Thank you. Great.
If I was to say I've ever learned something from my dad or Brian when we were in the middle of an argument, it would be that the hardest thing in life is to be yourself, and that he was. One of the most true to himself people I will probably ever meet. It was really hard trying to choose music for today, as I think it can be found in such a wide variety of music to all of us. So we went with ones we heard a lot and enjoyed together, maybe not all of the time. Rufus is walking in the wind with you now, Dad. Viva la revolution.
Thanks, Sarah. Well done. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, as we come towards the end of our service here this afternoon, we're going to have a little moment of just quiet reflection, and for all of us to think of Brian and what he has brought to your lives and how he has helped shape the lives of those he dearly loved. And we now say to Brian, thank you for all you have gifted to us in your loving life, and what good you have shown us, we will now endeavour to show to others. We release you to the next part of your journey as you walk hand in hand with all those who have gone before you, lighting your way. And you can pray privately this moment if you wish. So don't think of Brian as gone away. His journey has now just begun. Life holds so many facets, and this earth is only one. Just think of him as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days and years. And think how he must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of Brian as living in the hearts of those he touched, for nothing of it is ever lost, and he was loved so much. So just for our final words, again, thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. I know we're living in very uncertain times, but it's great to have your support here, and the family really appreciate it. And again, those of you who are joining us on the webcam, wherever you are in the world, thank you. I'm sure the family will be in touch with you over the coming days via Skype and email and so on, so thank you very much as well. So following this service, Brian will be going around by the family home, just find a little run around on his way to Glasnevin crematorium. We're due there for 3 o'clock for our service of committal. So for everything, there is a season. There is a time for every purpose on this earth. There is a time to be born and a time to die. And so death has come to Brian, who loved life, his firmness of character, his depth of humanity, we now commit to our memories. His loves, his friendships, we now commit to our hearts. And here with much sorrow and in love and appreciation, we now bring Brian on his final journey to Glasnevin for a service of committal. I bring a service to a close now with a short reflection. The tide recedes, but it leaves behind bright seashells on the sand. The sun goes down, but gentle warmth still lingers on the land. The music stops, yet echoes on in sweet, soulful refrains. And for every joy that passes, something beautiful remains. We've come to the end of our celebration of Brian's life. Leave now in quietness of spirit, in harmony with one another. And our closing piece of music is a lovely, I suppose you're really going to call it a ballad at this stage, really. It's by Enya, The Orinoco Flow.
Say